Morning. Our invocation this morning will be led by Beth Banks.
Good morning, Toastmasters. The invocation this morning is lead us from St. Augustine. Lead us, O God, from the sight of the lovely things of the world to the thought of thee, their creator. And grant that delighting in the beautiful things of thy creation, we may delight in thee, the first author of beauty and the sovereign Lord of all thy works, blessed forevermore.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Beth. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests.
Good morning.
Happy Thursday, despite the pouring rain that we all had this morning. I was so drenched in it, it was not fun, but but the grass did need it. I just like to say hello to Dr. Lenhart. Dr. Lenhart's been a while. Welcome. We've been seeing you. Good to see you.
Everybody.
And I would like to welcome our guest this morning, our Area 11 Director, John Bellamo. John, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I appreciate being here. Thank you.
What club are you from?
I'm Downtown Toastmasters.
We appreciate you joining us this morning and welcome. Are there any announcements from the floor?
Sunday is the picnic.
Yes.
We will be social distancing outside. Hopefully the weather will hold. Please bring snacks. You can bring non-alcoholic drinks. If you do want, obviously I've got wine and slushies. If you do bring beer, please bring New York State beer because that is all my license will allow. Starting around 1, going till around 4. So see as many people. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, give me a phone call, whatever works.
Thanks, Margo.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Margo. Are there any further announcements? Sylvia?
I do, and I just wanted to let everyone know I was working with Tracy with the treasurer position, and just to remind people that I will be sending out emails very soon to renew for another 6 months or 1 year. And again, the payments will be either in check form, I'll send you my address, or PayPal, which is very convenient for everyone too.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, if there is an, Mokos, you got an announcement? You muted, Mokos.
I just want to emphasize that the chat room is available, and I hope many of you try the chat room because it augments the meeting, so you can converse privately or to everyone in the chat room, especially like word of the day, or even Larry posts the program and agenda. So a lot of stuffs are in the chat room for assisting. We do have a wonderful, great meeting, but we can always keep improving. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mokos. Appreciate that. All right, are there any further announcements? I'll turn things over to our Toastmaster today, Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Thank you, Eric. I'm glad to see so many smiling faces this morning. Today's theme is home cooking. I figured we are here at our houses more than we usually are. And I remember Alexis talking about in one of her speeches, enhancing her home cooking abilities, getting some recipes, trying some new things. So I thought we would talk a little about that, and maybe people would have ideas that others could use. Maybe people could include recipes in the chat or email them later. There are things that might be your favorite that people make, or you might have your own specialty dish. So as the role players speak today, they might mention their special dish and or favorite dish that maybe mom makes and you look forward to. The one dish my mom would make is of legend. The lasagna that she made, her family is our family's old school Italy back in the day, off the boat. not too far removed from when she arrived to Niagara Falls. And lasagna was amazing. She would only make it a couple times a year. In fact, it was for my sister Rebecca's birthday, and my sister's birthday was no longer her birthday. It was called Lasagna Day. So sadly, her birthday was replaced. People did not miss her birthday because, like I said, it was only once a year. And we're very lucky, we get it twice a year. So it's made it that extra special. And so when I started dating my wife, I explained to her that do not get me lasagna. It will not be good. Do not make me lasagna because it will not stand up to my mother's. She did do that one time. And I looked like a deer in the headlights when we were first dating because I was supposed to give her rave reviews. It was good, but it wasn't Mom's. You know how that goes. So one time when she did have it, we drove back from Niagara Falls. And this is back in the days when they had toll booths there. We drove up to the toll booths. And I kind of drove up there, and I didn't have Easy Path. I was going to pay. And I pulled up there, and I kept driving. We were in comatose state from this lasagna. So I didn't even pay the guy. The guy like came out, he waved his arm. What are you doing? We think that there was some extra special ingredient in this lasagna. We have the recipe. It is not the same as Mom's. She left something out. Some portion is off. Maybe some heroin in there. I don't know. Some illicit drugs of some kind. I don't know. We were out of it. Just to get you hooked on it. So it is stuff of legend. At this point, I'd like to go into our roles. Hopefully we've had a few more people sign on. Our word master, I'd like to start off with. Jen Zappa, what is the word of the day for us?
Yes. Now, although everyone's home cooking may not be this, your word of the day today is spicy. Spicy is an adjective meaning quality, flavor, or fragrance of spice, producing or abounding in spices, lively, or spirited. So I've put that in the chat as well. Don't forget that if you are participating in table topics, you must use the word spicy. May your day be spicy, but not too spicy.
Thank you, Jen. I imagine that a lot of recipes and discussions today will involve extra special spice for us. I don't want to forget to introduce our general evaluator because she's at the bottom of my agenda. So I'm going to do the little out of order today. Jackie, general evaluator, what is your job?
Thank you, Gerald. There's no order. The order is whatever you want it to be. I'm going to be observing the things that you do, the way the evaluators evaluate the speakers today, and giving a report on all of that, plus the general tone of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Our master today, Jill Roaring, what is your role? Saw Jill on there.
Right after I put Lucky Charms in my mouth.
Of course.
My job is to observe, listen for ahs, ums, pregnant pauses, crutch words that people will be using throughout the meeting and report at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go next with our quote master, Cecilia Marcy. You got a quote of the day for us? Cecilia.
Cecilia, you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Many of life's failures are experiences by people who did not realize how close they were to success when they give up. I have another one. Optimism is the one quality more associated with success and happiness than any other. Always keep your eyes open. Keep watching because whatever you see can inspire you. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Ryan Flory, you're our grammarian today. Thanks for stepping up. What does your job entail?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. This morning, my job as grammarian is to make sure that your language doesn't get too spicy. I'm going to be listening for both quality uses of grammar and extraordinary sentences, as well as something you wouldn't turn into a 9th grade English teacher. So as I do, I will take notes and report back at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ryan. Has our timer arrived yet? Samir, are you there? No, Samir? I know Larry McKenzie is very handy with the timing. You think you could do that, Larry?
I would be happy to be our timer this morning. Timer's role. What I will be doing is I will be timing our table topics, which is our impromptu speaking, with AM Lockport. Our table topics, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 45, 2 minutes. Speeches will be 5 to 7 minutes. You'll get the green light at 5, the yellow at 6, and the red at 7. Time to wrap it up, unless the speeches our time-wise are different. Please let me know. And for our evaluators, we'd like to see some spicy evaluations today, and those will be 2 to 3 minutes, 2, 2.5, and 3 minutes. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our jester today, Sylvia Baptiste. Do you have a spicy joke for us?
Well, I'm not sure, but we'll try this one. A wife was making a breakfast for her husband. She was frying some eggs. Suddenly, her husband burst into the kitchen. Careful, careful, he says. Put some more butter in there. We need more butter. Oh my gosh, we need more butter. You're cooking too many at once. Too many. Turn them now. We need more butter. Where are we going to get more butter? You need more butter. They're too close to each other. What are you doing? They're going to stick. Careful, he says. Use the salt. We need salt. You always forget to put salt on these eggs. You gotta have salt. Salt them. The wife stared at him, looked at him really puzzled. What in the world is wrong with you, she says. You think I never fried a couple of eggs before? He calmed down, looked at her, replied very calmly and said, I just wanted to show you what it feels like when I'm driving.
Thank you, Sylvia.
That's it.
A little bit spicy, a little zinger there.
Yeah.
Our next role player today is Dave Licata, Jester Master.
Good morning, Mr. Toast. Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Now, if I was to make sauce, and if I was guilty of overspicing, that would be distracting. That's what I'm looking for this morning. I'm looking for distractions in your background, how you're set up, because let's face it, I'm not floor manager at a TV studio. Things are different. So the first, I'd like to start just my evaluation or my report a little bit ahead. Cecilia Marcy, could you get in the center of your shot? Because we see about half of you. So if that's possible, Cecilia, that would be great. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. And one of our last role players, our quiz master, Thomas Heldwin. What is your role?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'll be paying attention to the non-spicy parts of the meeting and asking questions later. That's all. Thank you.
So Tom is going to definitely test our listening skills. Thank you, Tom. That is also something we try to enhance at Toastmasters. Another volunteer I had step up on the schedule for table topics was Mark Campos. Are you ready to do some impromptu questions for us today?
I am ready. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. Opportunity knocks, fellow Toastmasters. It's that time where you get to show off your extemporaneous speaking skills. Therefore, let's get right into it, shall we? Home cooking. What a great theme. Now, my wife and I are both half Italian, which by definition means we are very food-oriented people. The current meal is barely being chewed before we're thinking about the next meal. Fortunately, there are numerous excellent cooks in both of our families. My wife herself is an outstanding cook. But sitting atop the throne above them all is Grandma. Grandma was an outstanding cook, and she was always worried that you had enough to eat. Did you eat? Are you sure you ate? What did you eat? She would challenge me. You'd have to have an adequate answer, otherwise more food was getting shoveled into your mouth. So Anne-Marie Lenhart, welcome back. Let's have you jump right back into the deep end of the pool, shall we? Anne-Marie, who is the best cook you've ever known?
Well, good morning to everybody. It's so nice to see you. I'm not used to this format, so it's kind of strange with all these little squares. But I'm from an Italian family, and of course, a number of remarkable cooks. Sauce was always served twice a week. Wednesday and Sunday were sauce days. And my mother and my grandmother spent hours making the sauce. They put wine in and lots of garlic and onions and lots of spaghetti. So it was, manja, manja, manja was the key theme. And I can relate to Mark when he says they always ask you if you have enough to eat, because that was, like, God, you were going to be starving to death and dying somewhere. So you always ate a lot. It was hard to keep your weight down, actually, in an Italian family, but remarkably, I was always a skinny one. There were three sisters, and they were always more hefty than I. So I don't know how that happened, but I never had a weight problem until I grew up and became an adult. And now I am a permanent member of Weight Watchers, and I haven't gone in weeks. So I'm sad to say I've gained 14 pounds, even though I do try to bike every morning. And if I didn't, I'd probably be over 200 pounds. I don't know, but it's a challenge. One of the only gratifications, I'm sure all of you agree, is eating. So we've made dinners every night, and sort of sit down and eat together. And it's the only way really of connecting. So food is a blessing. And it's interesting when you chew and when you eat and digest, it's very relaxing. I never realized that so much as in the COVID here. And I'm hoping after this, if there is an afterlife, that we all get back together and I can go back to my Weight Watchers and try to get my weight down. So I don't know how you
use spicy food?
Oh, thank you. Yes, Italians always use spicy food, and it just adds to the delight and the aroma of whatever you're eating. My favorite food actually is stuffed artichokes. My grandmother always made them, and with lots of cheese and breadcrumbs and garlic and onions and oil. And I had one the other day. It was enormous. It took us quite a while to eat them, but that's my favorite food. I don't know how to tell the timing. Is it listed here somewhere?
Stop now.
Okay.
Actually, my background would be your timing.
Oh, your background? Well, I can't really read that, but.
Oh no, it's the color.
Oh, the red color.
Oh, red color. Okay.
Yep. It was yellow, green.
Oh yeah. How do you do that? Wow.
Also, a suggestion I made in the beginning of the meeting, the speakers, please pin Larry McKenzie at least. There is 3 buttons on your screen on the right-hand side top. And one of the button says pin video, of the speaker or timer. You can actually choose Larry to pin video, and you can all do it right now because
When
whenever
you're
Larry
speaking,
is
if you
on.
wish to do so.
In video.
So, thank you. I'm sorry to take the time, but I just thought.
Andy.
All right, well, thank you, Anne Marie. I could smell that sauce cooking, Anne Marie. There is no more glorious smell than a house on a Sunday morning with the garlic and all that. It's just one of life's great pleasures. So during the height of the pandemic, I think we've all gotten a lot of practice with home cooking. The other operative thing was takeout. There was a lot of takeout. My family and I, we sort of developed our own hybrid thing. And I'll call it like our COVID special. For a while, Danny Sheehan's in Lockport was selling uncooked steaks that you could cook at home. So we would order some 16-ounce strips, some twice-baked potatoes that were not yet cooked, and their famous baked stuffed clams. And it would be a sort of a hybrid of takeout and home cooking with a bottle of wine. We were really roughing it. So I'd like to ask Len Thornton, during this period, did you have a COVID special, like some special meal that you made and enjoyed, or a takeout that you preferred?
Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests, I can't say I had a special meal. I've been learning how to cook more and more foods on my own. In the summertime, my mother is up here from Florida, and she's a close resource for all the family recipes, things that I grew up with that I really enjoyed. Now between her and my sister, they've trained me how to make the essential, absolutely essential spicy chili. I can do that without looking at the recipe anymore. And that's good for 3 seasons with me. I can eat a good chili just about any time. That's fantastic. I'm kind of a meat and potatoes kind of thing. I love goulash as well. I've mastered that. Now, there are certain things, baking is not really my forte. I can make banana bread out of a box, and that comes out pretty good, but there's a family recipe. I'm trying to get my sister to part with that. It's just heaven on earth. And somebody gave me, someone in my running group gave me a zucchini. Now, I'm not real big on vegetables. I'll eat them if I have to, if they're prepared for me. But for me to prepare a dish with zucchini in it, not going to happen. My favorite zucchini dish is zucchini bread, okay? Which is more of a dessert, really. So I promptly took the zucchini to my mother in Tonawanda and said, here, make me some zucchini bread. And she did, and it was delicious, of course. Actually, she made a chocolate zucchini cake. And that was so rich. It was incredible. It lasted me about a week. Very good. I don't have any specific COVID changes or takeout things. My culinary life has pretty much stayed the same. Mr. Topic Master.
All right, thank you, Len. Most of us, I think, have a dish that we're known for, or maybe we just embrace a certain style of cooking. For me, it's all about being at the grill, whether I'm grilling hot and fast or low and slow. Anything where I'm outdoors, there's a fire, and I can have a beer in my hand. I am a maestro. I will take it from there, and you will be very happy. Well, last but not least, guests are fair game here at AM Lockport, and certainly district officers are no exception. So our guest, John, our area director. John, what is your specialty, your best dish or style of cooking?
Well, thank you, Mr. Topic Master, and good morning once again to all of my fellow Toastmasters. And I guess I could say hello to myself. I'm pleased to jump into a room that's full of gumatis and gumbatis, because I heard a lot of people say that they've got Italian as part of their background and their heritage. So I'm feeling even more comfortable than just the general video introduction. Spicy food is the hallmark of my family. I particularly love spicy foods. Favorite dish? Hard to say. It would be Grandma's cooking, but Grandma's gone. As far as takeout would have occurred, let me think about that for a moment. You know, God blessed us with several beautiful senses, one of them being sight. So I'm attracted to food visually, but one of them is smell. And my wife is the cook in the house. And I can tell you that when I pull into the garage, I know what's for supper because the aroma has already sneaked its way through the doors and the sills. And I never ask what she's making for dinner the night before because everything that she cooks is fabulous. She, in fact, is likely a better cook than my grandmother. That's saying a lot. Having said that, the takeout is now transitioned down to my grandkids. And my grandkids are the ones that call and place an order for pickup at our house, as opposed to our picking up at restaurants. All in all, I know I diverted from the principal question, but as a Toastmaster, you're allowed to do that. I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to research some of my tastes and my sights and my sounds and listening to others speak. I'm beginning to salivate for breakfast, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. At this point, I would like to call for reports. Our word master, Jen, how did spicy do?
Yes, I believe all of our table topics contestants did use the word. I missed Len's at the beginning, but I was corrected on that one. And Anne-Marie snuck it in there. Thanks, Kate, for helping her out.
All right, thank you, Jen. And our timer, Larry, how did our contestants do this morning?
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. Well, I must say that our speakers really threw a little spice into the action, starting out with Anne-Marie. We are going to give her a pass because I stopped the clock at 2 minutes and 28 seconds because of the fact that, just because. Len, 1 minute and 50 seconds, talked about my favorite banana bread. We'll talk about that later. And our guest, our area director, John, 1 minute and 59 seconds. I would say that all three have qualified Mr. Table Topics Master.
All right, thank you, Larry. So there you have it, fellow Toastmasters. On screen, you will have the opportunity to vote for Anne-Marie, Len, or John. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Take a second to vote. More yummy, not spicy, but yummy food. If you are a good chef, I feel, and I feel like my wife is very good, we often try to copy recipes of restaurants. So for example, some of you know that I lived in New Orleans for a while. Napoleon House has this thing called a muffalata. It is this massive sandwich, and it has provolone, Genoa salami, ham, all these different types of cold cuts, and also a olive type sauce. So trying to replicate these things can be fun. Violas, I know, is popular. A lot of people from Niagara Falls, we replicate violas at the Stevens house. We do not need to drive. It tastes just like it. My wife has the taste buds where she can figure it out.
I have to interrupt you. Do you wrap them in saran wrap?
We do not do that. But so it's not quite.
Do you use Gemma oil?
I don't make them. I don't know. They just taste just like it. Another Niagara Falls favorite, the Whistle Pig. Who remembers the Whistle Pig? I bet a few people do. They had this amazing thing. It was called the Whistle Pig. It was a hot dog, and it had this amazing cheese sauce. We have the original recipe. Yes, we do. So if you're interested in that, definitely email me and I can get that to you. It was hard to get. We got it from the actual chefs when they sold the place, and it is no longer there. So that is something that we definitely enjoy. At this point in the meeting, I'd like to introduce our evaluators and our speakers. So speaker one is Mike Licata, and he is being evaluated by Phil Russell. Is Phil there?
Yes, I are.
Okay, great.
Well, Mr. Toastmaster, it's always good to get something new out of Toastmasters. And yesterday, Mike Licata added a little spice to my Toastmasters life. The reason he did that was because he emailed me the evaluation form. Now I found out on the evaluation form, I can type that in on the computer rather than using my lousy handwriting. Now, the key test is once I do that, and I've already printed out the sheet, so I'll have duplicates, is that it will go, I want to see if it will go to him after I fill it out and then forward or return it to him and see if it's all in there. And if it is, what a great treat. Something new from Toastmasters on intellectual, or what is it, IT. So, but Michael, his speech is a 5 to 7 minute speech. It is to inspire your audience. The purpose statements are, the purpose of this project is for the member to practice writing and delivering a speech that inspires others. The second purpose statement, the purpose of the speech is for the member to inspire the audience. You have the title, Mr. Toastmaster?
I do.
Mr. Toastmaster, 5 to 7 minutes, and he's going to inspire us, his audience.
Thanks so much, Phil. Mike Licata's title today is Simple Distractions. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests this morning. Fellow Toastmasters, I wanted to offer simple suggestions through my experiences through this time to provide simple distractions and to provide ways to slow down and learn to enjoy life a little bit more. This has been a tough time for many different ways for many different people. And I have found that if you just take a time to do different things, maybe finally pick up a new hobby during this time, that you will be able to be distracted with everything that's going on in the world. It helps you pass the time as we get closer and closer to some semblance of what we were used to before the pandemic. Now, growing up with my mom's side of the family, when unfortunately my grandparents passed away, one of the things that we inherited was we inherited a set of a couple of guitars. So we actually have a banjo, we have a acoustic guitar, and we actually have a really nice electric guitar. And growing up as a child, I always thought to myself, you know, if I ever had the time, it'd sure be great to learn how to play an instrument and finally learn how to play the guitar. Well, when you're stuck inside for 90 days and the world exists where they can just ship you anything, you don't have to go anywhere, I think it's about time to actually start learning how to play the guitar. So that is one of the first things I did when this little thing started. Was I went on Amazon, bought the acoustic guitar strings, and with the help of my older brother, he helped me fix up the acoustic guitar. And I downloaded, found a couple of apps, found a couple of YouTube videos that helped me learn basic chords and basic chord progressions. And slowly but surely, maybe in a later speech, I was able to present some of what I've learned during this time. One of the other things that I learned during this pandemic is with everything that was closing, with the gyms and the inability to go exercise in a public place, is that I knew that if I didn't do some form of exercise during this pandemic, I would probably gain a lot more than 14 pounds, as Anne-Marie said earlier. So one of the things I actually did is that I went on one of the many streaming services that I have, and actually found a really, really nice set of workout videos that you could do at home that doesn't require weights. It doesn't require a sign up. All the videos are there. You can do them in this little 7 minutes and up to, they have full sets of half hour, 45-minute exercises. And I've actually found that with the way my personality works is the fact that I actually enjoy doing that more than I enjoyed going to the gym. And that just has to do with the convenience factor of it. You don't have to get in the car. You don't have to worry about changing. You don't have to worry about showering in an unknown gym, an unknown place. And I have found that I've actually lost not a ton of weight, but using the exercise videos, that I found I have lost a little bit of weight, not a tremendous amount, but for me, I think that's important because there was so much inactivity early on in the pandemic that I think it's important to find different solutions to new to problems, especially for the people that like to exercise more and things like that. Now, one of the other things that I've kind of learned is also developing new hobbies. And unfortunately, one of the other hobbies that I haven't done that I'm kind of not proud of is the fact that I've had discussions with my father about possibly learning Italian. We're trying to teach myself a second language during this, but it never really came to fruition. That's on me for being easily distracted with different streaming with different things. So maybe if we get shut down again or there's something else that happens, I can try to take the time to learn a new language, learn lessons to improve different parts of my life, and try to become a better person through online learning and through kind of the isolation experience. Now, I implore my fellow Toastmasters and our guests this morning that it is very important to remember everything that we've learned during this pandemic. It's important to remember to slow down when there's less things going on. It's important to remember it's important to remember a lot of the lessons that you've learned. I look forward to continuing to learn the guitar and continue hopefully to get better at it. I think that this experience has been different for all of us in some different ways. And I think that as long as we continue to learn and we continue to become better people through public speaking, through other experiences, we are able to grow. And I implore you to just kind of slow down. And I implore everyone to take the time to enjoy the simple things, enjoy those simple distractions. And thank you for listening this morning. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Michael. Our second evaluator is Tracy Farrell, and she will be evaluating Eric Snyder. Tracy.
Working at home is you get all these distractions either by your spouse or your pets that need attention all the time, and my dog's doing that right now. However, I want to give you what Eric will be talking about today. He is going to be speaking from the Pathways.
Tracy, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just don't know if anybody else can't hear you at all.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Your volume is very low.
You might want to turn your volume up or maybe get closer to the microphone.
Okay, if I talk closer to the microphone now, can you hear me?
That's a little better, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, we're going to have to work on that. Eric today is speaking from the Pathways program. He's working on the evaluation and feedback speech. The purpose of his project is to present a speech on any topic he feels, receive feedback, and apply that feedback to a second speech at a later date. The length of his speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Mr. Toastmaster.
Eric's speech titles today is How Am I Doing During the Pandemic? Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. I've been wanting to express how I'm doing this during this whole flow of this pandemic, and let me tell you, this has not been an easy one, I know for all of us, but this has been somewhat emotional for me because I've been trying to not to freak out as much, but it's been, how can I say it, one of the most difficult parts of my life, especially with work and trying to make sure that I can balance work in this pandemic as much as I can. But when this whole thing started, I was nervous, scared, because I'm worried about my mom, who works in healthcare, taking care of the residents, and wondering if she's going to come home with COVID. And I'm just like, and she's got scleroderma, so all that is waiting on my shoulders as if my mom is going to be okay. So thank God she's all right. Work has been more challenging as well because we're trying to make sure, you know, the kids are ready to be welcoming back, trying to make sure that we're going to provide the customer service and the most effective cleaning everywhere. So this has been one of the most challenging of my career. When I first heard of the pandemic, I wasn't able to see my parents. Well, no, I miss my sisters, my brother, my nieces, friends, and more family, because I've been so stressed to not see them so much. And I will tell you this, I've been, you know, had some thoughts of suicide in recent past. So that always weighed on my mind. If I am going to get through this pandemic, or if I'm going to not get through this. So what did I do on my time? I call my grandmothers to see how they're doing. I tell them I love them, tell them I miss them, because I made an oath to my grandfather that I would take care of my grandmother, but that has been, you know, a challenging time. I also think that during this pandemic, I kept on more running. With the gyms being closed, I was trying to, you know, run, trying to exercise. But sometimes I've been so stressed, I didn't want to go running. I didn't want to do the things I wanted to do. So basically, during my time, I'll just sit on my couch and binge watch television as much as I can. And it's just one of those times where you just say, forget it, I'm done. I just don't want to be around people. I've been so grateful enough to, you know, to be around friends, family, and especially my coworkers who have been most helpful for me, because we've been short-staffed. We had so many cuts in the housekeeping department. It was just, now we got more stuff to do on our plate. But since, you know, things have been, you know, lifted, I've been able to go see my grandmother, who, by the way, if anybody didn't notice, my grandmother was on TV last week, which is surprising to me, because how is my 96-year-old grandmother on Channel 2? I thought she was being interviewed, but no. But my uncle posted a picture of her having, quote, a quarantine coffee, AKA a margarita, which my uncle posted as a way of toasting her 96th birthday. So I called my grandma immediately. I go, Grandma, you're on TV. She goes, yeah, I know, I look terrible. I go, no, you don't look terrible. You look fine. So that was a very enlightening for Grandma being on TV for the first time. But honestly, I am blessed, you know, to contact people, to contact my friends, family, and just making sure that I'm going to be all right. And I love you all for making this a more fun and enjoyable time. I know I miss seeing you all in person, but this has been fun to do this. So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Eric. Our third evaluator is Moklis, and he is evaluating Margo Bittner. Moklis, tell us about her speech. I don't think we can hear you, Moklis.
I am so honored, excited to introduce our esteemed Toastmaster, Margo Sue Bittner. She's one of the founders of this club. And since the day or close to it, since the day I joined, I've noticed her strength in this club. She supports every new member, she brings new members, and she participates very assertively. I believe what Phil said before. I was amazed to see the evaluation form yesterday when I went to the site. And her speech purpose statement is to practice planning, organizing, leading, and implementing an event. And I'm looking forward to hear her marvelous speech. What you see behind me is, of course, something that we are all familiar and probably see many of you on Sunday at the picnic. Her title is Oh My, 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
He gave you the title, so it's all you, Margo.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As most of my fellow club members know, I graduated from Cornell University with a degree in industrial and labor relations. What I knew about marketing when I opened my winery would fit in a thimble. I knew almost nothing. And when you have a haunted winery, people say you should do ghost hunts and psychic events. So we started doing them, and they limped along. We had some gallery reading Victorian teas, which did okay. But every time we did psychic readings just as their own event, we'd get 12 people, we'd get 15 people. We tried all these different psychic Sundays. We named them different things. Finally, I teamed up with a woman named Ivy Rivera, and she says, we have to do better than this. After 3 or 4 months of these events being small, we decided to try something new. We decided to try something we called spirits and spirits. So the first thing we did for our psychic events was change the title. The second thing we did was try a Saturday afternoon in July, hopefully outside. This was in 2019. It was going to be a beautiful day. At least they assured me as psychics it was going to be. And we planned this event. But how do we get the word out? Now, in the past, everything had been walk-in. We sort of shot the shotgun, and wherever everything landed, we did it. It just sort of happened. So we decided to make it really important. You have to make an appointment. If you don't make an appointment, maybe you won't get a reading. So this is what we started to put out on Facebook. And every time I would advertise these events, either through my e-newsletter, Facebook, wherever it was, I'd get 200, 300, 400 responses. By renaming it and adding those two factors of appointments and giving it some urgency, all of a sudden, within a week, 2,000 people saw my post. Ivy then had an idea of, instead of just saying there are going to be psychics, tell everybody who they are. Let's put up their biographies and then ask each psychic to put something out. So we ended up with 4 psychics who were getting their schedules all filled in. We ended up with 6 psychics whose schedules were all getting filled in. We added 2 more psychics. All of a sudden, we've got 6,000 people following this event, and we have 8 psychics. I said to Ivy, should we leave some openings? And she said, no, don't worry about it. What always happens with these events, every time I've hosted one, is 1/3 of the people don't show up. Now you have to remember, this event is spirits and spirits. So people are going to come in July and expect not only a reading, but some alcohol, whether it was a glass or a slushie. Comes the day of the event, my daughter sets up a lectern. She's going through all her lists, checking people in, and all of a sudden people started coming. We only had 5 people who didn't show up. We ended up going, instead of from 1 to 4, to almost 6 o'clock. So we took that experience to create future events. And when I was going through this project, it said, how do you lead? How do you change what's going on? So this year, we're set. We know what we're doing for Spirits and Spirits. We're psyched. It's going to be on a Saturday in July. We're going to have the appointments. We're going to have the 8 psychics. And then, as you all know, we had a challenge. So we decided to cut back the event to only 4 psychics. And while it didn't spread as far, I was still amazed at how many people heard about it and are asking for appointments so that we can go back to doing our fall events, and hopefully those will be better attended. So in doing this entire project, in trying to create something to bring people to my winery and to help the psychics out with their careers, I've learned a couple of lessons. Number 1, it's that personal connection. It's making sure that when I post that Paul Casey's going to be here, that Paul makes sure his friends know. Number 2 lesson I learned is everybody has to help. If you're attending, please share it on Facebook and give them a little something extra, even if it's just a thank you, a public acknowledgement that you're helping publicize our event. And the 3rd thing I learned is you can do it again. Now, this year's event was not nearly as large, was not nearly as well attended, but we added something different in adding vendors. And every vendor said, while people were waiting for their psychics, they were sipping their wine slushie and walking around. So everything being on the front lawn was very helpful. So what will next year bring? I don't know, but I'm hoping that maybe things will be ended and we can actually go back to last year's event when we had over 500 people slipping through the winery, trying to get a reading that day. Back to 8, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margo. Nice additional revenue adding the vendors, by the way. Good job. Definitely a lot of business people I think we have in Toastmasters that can learn from your example. I'd like to get a timers report, please. Larry McKenzie.
Mr. Toastmaster, our speakers this morning did quite well within their time constraints. Michael Licata, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Eric Snyder, 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And Margo, 5 minutes and 24 seconds. All 3 speakers did qualify, Mr. Toastmaster.
There will be a vote that'll pop up, so please vote for your favorite speaker since they all qualified. Also, if you could send on the chat some words of encouragement to our speakers and even a improvement if you think they need some improvement. And we all can improve in Toastmasters for sure. Can't see myself on screen. There I am. Okay, great. Some more food items. Part of my family also is Polish, so we have some good food from Poland certainly as well. My wife makes an amazing lazy pierogi, which is sauerkraut, but it doesn't taste like sauerkraut. It's not tangy at all, with bacon, mushroom goodness all mixed in there, mushroom caps, some hamburger and cream cheese mixed in there. Yum, yum, yum. Potato pancakes, those are a favorite, but it's hard to find a good one out there. You go to different restaurants, it's not quite the same as her grandmother would make. It's got to have the powdered sugar on it. It's got to have the exact right crispness. I feel, and if any of you have connections, I would love to be a food judge. I feel like all these years of eating all over the place and just eating in general, I could definitely pull that off. So if you have any connections, Taste of Buffalo, and just putting it out to the universe, I would love to be a food judge and maybe even be a little something like you see on the Food Channel. I don't know. I think I could do it. So that's out to the world there. At this point in the meeting, I'd like to have our evaluators provide evaluations for our speakers today. Evaluator 1 is, who is evaluator 1? Let's see, it is Bill Russell. If you could do your evaluation, that'd be great.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests, and especially Michael, you excelled at your preparation, starting off with the email I got of the evaluation form. This speech was to inspire. The best way to inspire somebody is to use personal experiences. That's a great way to do it. You did it. You talked about how I was going to take some simple distractions to take over this time. Great ideas. It took me until about 2 weeks ago to start doing some of my simple distractions because I had so much going on. But the main point is you used personal experience to make your point. Especially, this is great in an inspirational speech. You had good ideas, excellent ideas. I want you to add some humor. Something like, and I heard this from my sister, and I thought it was funny. I told her I would put on some weight like a lot of us have. And she says, that's why they call it COVID-19. You put on 19 pounds. So that one thing will help you a little bit with that because your personal experiences, they're fun. Enjoy them. You brought up that. One other thing I'd like to see you bring in, enthusiasm. Add some vocal variety. Spice it up with a little bit of that. As your father says, be theatrical. Throw some gestures in there. Get excited about what you're doing. The biggest thing about when you're giving an inspirational speech is to be enthusiastic about it yourself. Add that enthusiasm and you will bring more enthusiasm to your audience. That's what you need to do is you want to inspire that audience to get out there and do just what you've done. Add some theater, add some humor, add some fun. You did a great job on putting it all together. It was excellent. Now, spice it up, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Our second evaluator, Tracy, are you ready? And please present your evaluation.
I am. I hope you can hear me. Eric's speech is, how am I doing through getting through the pandemic? During his speech, he did some really good things. He was very clear. He made eye contact. That's what I noticed a lot on Zoom, that we're not making contact. So he was looking right at the camera. His gestures were good. And it was an interesting topic. It's something that we're all going through. And he was extremely open with his fears. And it's so great that we're here at Toastmasters. It kind of reminds me of the television show Cheers, a place where you can always find a friend and you're always safe here. So Eric was here and he opened up. And the pandemic is something that we can all relate to because we're all going through the same experience. One of the things that I want Eric to work on is the organization of his speech. The first part of the speech was the pandemic came. It hit us all and it was an unexpected event. And then go into how it affected him. And he had some stories about how it affected him and how it affected his family. And then third, something to leave us all with something, tips and how we all came through the pandemic. And at this point in his speech, this is when he adds in the story about his grandmother drinking margaritas and being on television and how he celebrated. And that's how he added humor to his speech. And then one of the things, and I know I can't say too much myself because I'm having problems with the audio, but the background of his speech if he could add some pictures, show us a picture of his grandmother holding up that margarita glass would be awesome. And showing us the rest of his family and some of those funny stories and how he got through it. So add some spice to that speech by adding those pictures. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to the second speech. Thank you, Eric. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. Our third evaluator, Moklis, if you could present your evaluation.
Good morning. I think before I go to the evaluation, I want to share my favorite food, or home cooking food, or food from anywhere in the world. Guess what it is? Dessert. I always eat the dessert first. If there's room left in my stomach, then I go for the rest of the food. Doesn't matter what kind of restaurant I go to, I check the dessert menu first. And then if it's not good, I usually change the restaurant. Anyway, back to my evaluation for Margo. This was a wonderful, spicy and spooky speech about an event she has been growing over many years. She started with a humble beginning of graduating from Cornell, starting a whole new world of marketing. And I'm amazed at how passionate, dedicated, and determined she is. And she tried to relate the total experience as it grew from few to almost 10 speakers. And then came the COVID-19, which put a little bit of cold water on the growing large event. So for a DTM like Margo, it is a challenge to evaluate. So I am thoroughly convinced she practices to improve. How do you go to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. And she is a great example of that. What can I say to improve? One of the best thing I can tell you, Margo, energy, passion, get up, move, do anything to show the body language of your passion, commitment. I know you care for every member of this club and you care for your employees a lot. In fact, you make them members of this club many times. So I want to see more physical, facial, voice variety, everything that comes to you to make sure you are exploding. And that attracts a lot more attention. Overall, a great speech, a spicy speech, and a wonderful, wonderful example for us to follow the pathway to. I think I was, like Phil said earlier, I was very surprised to find the evaluation form in the agenda, and I'm mailing it back to you. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.
I think I have two timers now. I see Len's been assisting as well. So, but I will go with Larry, the official timer. If he needs backup, Len is there for us.
Thank you,
Larry,
Mr. Toastmaster. Our evaluators this morning did quite well. Phil, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Tracy, not far behind, 2 minutes and 19 seconds. And Moklis, 3 minutes and 7 seconds. All three have qualified. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, so take an opportunity to vote when the poll comes up. Some of you may have something like this in your family as I vote here. And this is like a giant recipe thing. It's probably loose with a lot of fake pictures and different recipes that are in here of different types of food. So we definitely have that in our family, from recipes from all different parts of the family has been recruited. Everybody's favorite dish. So we got that, and something can pass on to other generations. So if you don't have that, that's something you should definitely think about doing. What about what I can do with cooking? I am not a master chef, I hate to say, but much like Mark, I am no stranger to the grill. So I can definitely hold my own there. And I've talked in the past about barbecue. I make some pretty good ribs, I will say. I don't know if it's competition style, but it's getting there. So I'm working on that. I could be a barbecue judge. I can definitely do that. So I saw someone put that in the chat. But I also have been camping lately, and I've been using the Dutch oven, and I have this little cookbook here, Cooking 101 with the Dutch oven. In the Adirondacks, I made some apple crisp, which turned out pretty good. I made peach cobbler in the past, pineapple upside down cake over the fire. Didn't get really burned, cooked pretty well. Everybody seemed pretty happy with it. So I've been working on desserts and camping. A famous dessert in our family is the red velvet cake with buttercream. Now, there's a lot of imitation red velvet cakes out there. They don't make them like they used to back in the day. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not, but it's actually a 3-day process. So this could be why it's not done anymore like that. It has to be a certain amount of layers, boil the buttercream, has to be in the fridge overnight. It is a process, but it is definitely a dessert. When you eat it, you feel like you probably need to have the paddles to restart your heart, because it's not the best for you. But it is good in limited amounts because it is so rich. So if you've ever had the actual red velvet cake, you would know. At this point in the meeting, I would like to introduce some of our role holders. I did have a request via chat that Ryan could go first. So Ryan, if you give your grammarian report, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Once again, at the end of the meeting now, I'd like to wrap up on some of the exemplary uses of grammar, as well as some recommendations going forward. So I'll start off, Mark, opportunity knocks, sitting atop the throne, both solid examples. And then you threw a "you'd" in there. And I'd like to pass this out to all Toastmasters in both speaking and proper writing. It's beneficial and it's a little bit less harsh on the ears to avoid contractions. You would, you could, do not, cannot, as opposed to don't, can't, you'd. They're just a little bit more grating on the ears. Then you jump back in with some other great examples here, back into the deep end of the pool. Anne-Marie, food is a blessing. Not only is it true, but it's a fantastic way of phrasing it. Len, baking is not my forte. John, our guest, Gumatis and Gubatis. And I want to call this out because it's a fantastic use of what we normally hear versus what's actually proper. And that's John's use of the word sneaked. So normally you would hear a snuck in here, and somebody snuck by, or something sneaked by. And sneaked by might not sound right because normally in common everyday speaking we would say snuck because it's our quick go-to American English. But believe it or not, sneaked is the correct there because it's a regular, not an irregular verb. So I just wanted to call that out. And then Phil, it was like you were challenging me to remember this for the end of the meeting. Yes, I are. You know better. We all know better. I just had to make mention of it. And then excel at your preparation. Again, I think that's a solid, both reinforcing point for Mike, but also it's just a great way of providing praise. And excel is just such a strong word to use there. Mike, in your speech, you were using implore. I love the word. And Margo, fit in a thimble, fantastic. So again, as a whole, a couple of dropped G's, a couple of contractions that just great on the ears, but otherwise I think overall a good meeting from a grammarian's standpoint. So that is my report. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ryan. The next report I would like to request is from the Gesture Master. Gesture Master is David Cotta. Your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. This is television now. This takes me back to my college days when we studied it. I want to give Sylvia kudos. You did a great job of joke telling, and you used a lot of facial expressions, a nice gentle smile, and you had a good time with the joke. And that was the nonverbal part of the joke telling, and we enjoyed that. Mark Campos gets an A, perhaps an A+. Both his face and his hands were in spicy cooperation with each other. John, our guest, he was rocking back and forth towards his camera, but his hands and his arms were silent. So that puzzled me, and we'd like to thank John for not mentioning the Rochester garbage plate this early in the morning. Thank you. And John, we have Bellamo was here in Lockport as well, so that was interesting. Phil Russell was close to the center of the shot. His hands were in play. He was peering over his glasses. Then he took his glasses off, but we have to remember he's Tom Moran's cousin, so he comes by it naturally. Mike Licata, I invite you to center yourself in the shot. It would have been better if you were absolutely positively between the two windows in what I used to call the dining room, but now it's Studio B. I'm in Studio A. You did a good job with your eyes, Mike, and your camera angle from looking up was a bit better, so you had raised the camera and kind of taken the chin factor out of it. You didn't use your hands. Tracy, you were off center on my cell phone. You were a little bit over extreme right, but you had nice hands, a friendly face, and a great eyes, and that reassured us and it reassured Eric that we are your friends, Eric. We're here to take care of you. Eric, you had good hands, but on my unit, I don't know why, if it was just me or if anybody else experienced this, you did have screen freeze, and that was kind of distracting. You never had audio freeze. I got all the audio, but you didn't have screen freeze. You did have screen freeze, excuse me. Muklas, that's my favorite quote. Life is uncertain. Eat dessert first. I heartily agree. You had good eye contact, nice head movements. You get extra credit today for incorporating that background shot of the winery at Margin Manor. And today you were certainly the highly animated Muklas. You were almost a blur on my screen, and I'm not arguing with that. I found that to be an enhancement. Good job. You kept moving. Margo, great eye contact. You moved to a nice clean background with that solid color for your speech. That was a nice touch. Well done. Margo's hands were in play. She made excellent eye contact, and she did a nice job. And I like this to repeat myself. That was great, finding the right background. As we do these Zoom meetings, some backgrounds are very distracting, some aren't. The people that are using their bigger computers and laptops and tablets, they've mastered this incorporation of backgrounds. I'm on my cell phone. I'm guilty. I don't know, maybe if I did a little homework, I could figure out how to do that on my cell phone. Dr. Jerry, your camera angle was better this week because in the past, we've had this situation where you're Juliet and we're Romeo. We're looking up at you from the ground. But our Toastmaster, Dr. Jerry, had a nice persona there in this shot. Nice gestures, nice warm gestures. And that's a great way to start your day. It's worth getting up for. And Jerry underlined that with his nice background in this, obviously in his study. So I want to thank you. And thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster. This is my report.
Thank you, David. Our next report will be from Tom Hildman. Can you give us some questions today? Did we pay attention?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
I'll unmute possibly.
I thought I did. You can't hear me?
Good.
No, you're on. I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So you started off with a story at the beginning of the meeting. What was Mrs. Stevens' mother's secret special ingredient?
Might have been a drug.
Might have been a drug. Heroin. He thought it was heroin. Anne Marie belongs to a group. What group does she belong to?
Weight Watchers.
Dave, you're too good. What was Eric's vow that he made?
Take care of his grandma.
Okay. All right, Dave, you're not gonna get this one. Maybe. Who was who was the longest speaker?
Ooh, that was Henry. Dr. Leonard went over time, but I don't know who.
The longest speech was Mike.
Longest speech was your son.
6+. But it was within time. Okay. Longest speech was Mike. Phil gave us some advice on how to spice up an inspirational speech. What was that?
Humor.
And humor.
And personal experience. He emphasized personal experience too. I can't read this. Oh, okay, Dave, this one is about you. How many times did Dave spice up his review with extraneous information? 4 times. You went off and just added random facts. Makes it a good evaluation. I got to give you credit. That actually makes it more.
Yeah, but I held back at about 7.
And other things.
The king of tangents.
Well, you did good today. I was counting and then you stopped.
Even got the red light.
And my last question is when is the picnic?
Sunday.
Sunday.
At 1 to 4.
1 o'clock.
Sunday.
1 o'clock, Margin Manor.
Okay. That
For
is
our
all,
guest
Mr.
from
Toastmaster.
Rochester,
Thank
he
you.
just come down Route 18.
Thank you, Tom. My general evaluator probably thought I forgot her, but I did not. Jackie, if you could give your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Great meeting this morning. You were very well organized. You worked your way through your tidbits of information and made it very personal. And I think we all enjoyed that very much. I can picture how much you would relish being a food judge. I think you need to pursue that. I enjoyed Phil's evaluation of Mike Licata. His suggestions were excellent. Adding humor and increasing the vocal variety would really enhance Mike's speaking quality. He has a lot to share with us and has so many good thoughts. I'd like to see him punch up his delivery a little bit more. Tracy, I agree with you. You praised Eric's openness, but you did tell him he needs to be more organized. And I loved your suggestion of incorporating a picture of his grandma. We've all seen her, those of us who are friends with Eric on Facebook, we know how devoted he is to grandma. It would be nice to see her picture as part of the speech. Moklis gave Margo quite a bit of praise. He talked a lot about how well-rounded she is as a businesswoman, but he found something to improve, which is difficult when you're talking about someone who's such a skilled Toastmaster, who is a DTM and has been in the club so long. It's hard to find something to improve, but he did. And I agree with Moklis. We could see more of the kind of enhancements that Margo needs. So Great meeting this morning, everybody. It's so worth getting up for and seeing all of your faces. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jackie. Jill, do you have an hour report for us?
I do, but I have to get it out from under this other participant that was here, Blackie. All right. Anne Marie had some ums and so's. Well, she's out of practice, so we'll give her a pass on it. Mike Licata had some so's, some repeats, restarts, stumbles, and he used and as a crutch, which I know he has done before. Eric had some ums and pauses. And that's about all I picked up on throughout the meeting. That is my report, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. Jen gave you the opportunity to be the very last one, so everybody can get the word spicy in there. How did our word do?
We didn't do too badly today. I heard Len, Moklis, Ryan, Larry, Gerald, David, Thomas, Kate, Eric, Phil, Jill, Anne Marie, Len, John, Tracy, and myself used it. I had, I think 4 people used it in chat today. So that was 16 people, in case you weren't counting, out of our 25 participants today used the word of the day. I know we can go for 100%, but I think that was pretty good.
Good, good job all. I do have a few minutes. If someone that has not spoken today, maybe Marty, would want to talk about their favorite dish, or just quickly, people that have not participated yet.
Yes. Gerald?
Go ahead, Marty.
My favorite dish would have to be, is baked beans with bacon on the top. I had an aunt, my Aunt Jane actually, in Batavia. And whenever we went there for a gathering, family gathering, there was always a pan of baked beans with the bacon, and I'll never forget it. It was delicious. And they had a little bit of spice, not too spicy, just enough, but they were delicious. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Marty.
Mr. Toastmaster, I could add a little bit to
Absolutely.
the tenor of the meeting. One of the advantages of being married several times is you have an opportunity to eat different foods from different cultures. Now, I've married, let's say, a Polish, German, and Italian. So their grandparents, I mean, the Polish girl that I married years ago, I think she was the first one. Yeah, she was the first one. Her grandmother could cook amazing Polish food. And being that she was my first wife, that was honestly my first experience with Polish food. And I found out that I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And then from there, I went to a German girl, and her mother and her grandmother were excellent cooks. I mean, and they used to go to the extent of making their own sausage. I mean, Germans, I mean, I fell in love with cooking, and I watched them, I helped them. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy cooking so much today. Now, my current wife is Italian, and I've had to switch up and make some Italian dishes, which I do enjoy, and I find them not too complicated to make. So I'm looking forward to, I met this French girl online a couple of weeks ago, and we've been talking about crepes and French pastries. And so I just wanted to add that. I mean, the whole experience of food and different cultures is amazing. Cecilia, I'm looking at you. I'm sure you have some good recipes out there. So that's just my addition to the food subject for today. Thank you.
Excellent addition. Thank you, Tom.
Spicy, Tom.
Very spicy, yes. Charlie, it'll be probably the last one we can squeeze in. There's some maybe after the meeting. Charlie, do you have anything to add? Not sure if he's trying to unmute or not. Okay. How about you, Carol? One last thing to add?
I know when Tom was mentioning foods from different cultures, I think we're very fortunate living in Western New York that we have so many different types of food that we can choose from, because I know other areas of the country, I've heard that they certainly don't have the diverse variety that we do here in Western New York.
Okay, great. At this point, I would like to hear from our guests. What do you think of our meeting, John?
Well, thank you again, Mr. Toastmaster. As a seasoned Toastmaster myself, this is in fact the very first time that I've taken on the responsibility of upper management or area director as a newbie. So again, I thank you for the very, very warm welcome that you've given to me this morning. It is abundantly clear that this is a very seasoned club with a very diverse and broad membership. And the inclusive nature of your meeting is really a hallmark, I think, that all clubs should try and attain. You've done great. You have a number of best practices. I think the 90-minute threshold certainly helps bring everybody involved into the meeting. I'm going to take some of the best practices that I've seen here and bring them to other clubs if they're receptive to the suggestions, which I hope that they are. And I'll end by just saying to all of you that I am available to speak or connect with you at your convenience, or if you have address or needs that need to be addressed. Give me some time to mutter through the upper channels here, but I will certainly do my best at working with you to get concerns addressed. I look forward to the upcoming season, and if I can just make one more request, I'm not sure how you manage your council meetings or your leadership meetings, but when you do organize the next one, it would be helpful if I had the opportunity to participate in one of your leadership council meetings so that I can effectively report back to Toastmasters International as required. So with that, thank you again. I look forward to working with every one of you. It's going to be great.
Thank you, John. We do have to get some award winners now. Eric, I don't know if Larry sent you the award winners or not. If not,
yes, he did. Gerald, I want to make one more comment. Do we forget to do a toast today?
I did not. So if you'd like to do one, that would be great. I could do one as well, but up to you.
All right. I'll do one. I'd like to propose a toast to all the home cooked meals we all love to eat, and not too spicy, so to speak, for me anyway. But here's to home cooked meals, everybody.
Yeah.
Amen.
I just want to make one comment. Back when I was in middle school, I drank hot sauce, so that was really spicy. And no, it wasn't a dare. I actually drank hot sauce just for the heck of it. So don't ever do that. And anyway, on to our winners this morning. Our best table topic speaker this morning is our area director, John. Congratulations to John as our table topics winner. Our best evaluator, who just left, was Tracy Farrell. And last, and certainly not least, our best speaker today is the one and only Margo Bittner. Congratulations to Margo. Are there any final announcements before I wrap up the meeting today, since we are on time?
Do we know who the next Toastmaster is?
I think it's Len Thornton next week.
Oh, very nice. The theme, Len, or no? Not yet. Okay, no theme from Len yet. He's surprised, which is fine. I was last week. Okay, I look forward to seeing whoever can make it to the yes, post Toasties. Yes, you all have a good day, and look forward to seeing you all. Whoever can make it to the picnic. Have a good day.
You too.
Don't
And
forget
also social hour tonight at 7 p.m. for anyone who is interested. I'll try to be on time tonight. I know that's a tall order.
I will post the link in the chat if somebody doesn't have it.
Thanks, Larry. most of our, a lot of our speakers were speaking about Italian food, and I have two just memories. My mother made very good spaghetti sauce, even though we have no Italian blood whatsoever. But when I asked her for the recipe, she really had a hard time coming up with it. She actually had to make it and then write things down as she was going along, because she had no idea how much of any one thing she put in. I'm not sure she got it totally right, but I have made her sauce many times. But does